Okay, we now look at number 9, which is we have to sketch the graph of the rational function. Now with the rational function, remember these are the steps that you have to do, or these are the things that you must show. First find the zeros, then the y-int. Well, remember the zeros are the same thing as the x-intercepts, and then y-intercept. Question doesn't ask you to find all those, but you must show the work for finding all those. VA, HA. Basically, some of these is just that you look at the function and you can tell what these are. There's not much work to do. Then you have to do the sign chart. So this is very, very important. There are points for each one of these that I am writing here. Then we can check, does the graph cross the HA or not? So some case in the graphs of rational functions, sometimes the graph crosses the horizontal asymptote and sometimes it doesn't. Okay, then it's always better to test some points just to make sure that we are graphing the portion of the rational function in the correct region. Okay, so I start with zeros. So what will be the zeros? Remember, the zeros are the numbers or the x values that make the numerator 0. So you can see the 0, there is only one 0, which is the 0, x is equal to 0. Or this will be the x-intercept as well. So the origin is the the intercept. In the same way, the y-intercept you get by setting x is equal to 0. So you see when x is 0, get that y is 0. Okay. Because you are going to put 0 here and 0 here, denominator and 0 here. So you get 0 over negative 2 times negative 5, or 0 over 10, but 0 over a number is 0. Next thing is VA. So now in order to find the VA, remember those are the values which make the denominator 0. Those values will give you the VA, the vertical asymptotes. But you have to make sure that there is no common factor in the top and bottom, the numerator and the denominator. So we see in the given expression or given function, we don't have any common factor. So the VAs will be x is equal to 2 and x is equal to 5. So we write it like this. We do not write like this. VA 2, 5. That is, you lose points if you like to write like that. Always we give the equation of the vertical and horizontal asymptote. Now the horizontal asymptote, there is a way you can find it by just looking at the graph very quickly. So this is something I'm just going to mention. You must not going to write that down here. It is in the notes already, videos that you watch. But basically you have to see the degrees of the numerator and the denominator. So if you note here, what will be the lead term in the denominator? You can see it will be x squared. So the lead term of the top is 2x squared. The lead term of the bottom is 1x squared or just x squared. So which gives you y is equal to 2 as the horizontal asymptote. So in other words, when the degree of the top and the bottom are same, then the horizontal asymptote is the coefficient of the lead term in the top divided by coefficient of the lead term at the bottom. So the HA will be y is equal to 2. Now note, there will always be only one HA if there is, and then there is no there is more than one VA. There can be more than one VA, there can be zero VA, but there cannot be more than one HA in case of these rational functions. Okay, then on the sign chart, what will we do? So in the case of polynomials, we on the sign chart we put only the zeros, but here we put zeros as well as the asymptotes. So I have 0, 2 and 5. Okay, so now when we want to check the sign chart or the sign of the function, we may not consider this because it's a 2x square. Well, there is a positive sign here, so and then x square makes everything positive, so we can just look at these two to see what the sign will be. So if I pick -1 and plug in here, so negative and negative positive. If we pick a number between 0 and 2 like 1, so you'll get 1 minus 2, which is a negative term, 1 minus 5, which is negative, we get positive between 2 and 5. So let's pick 3. So 3 minus 2 will be positive, 3 minus 5 will be negative. And then beyond 5, so we'll get positive. This is our sign chart. And then the sixth is, does the graph cross here? How do we check that? We take the function. Okay, I'll multiply it out, because that's what we need to do in this at this step. So x square minus 7x plus 10, that is what I get at the bottom, and we set it equal to the horizontal asymptote, which is in this case is 2. And now I try to solve this. So you can multiply by the denominator both sides, or you can say we can cross multiply. I get 2x squared is equal to 2 times this factor. So I get 2x squared minus 14x plus 20. So you see, subtract 2x squared from here and here, you can cancel. So 0 equals 20 minus 14x, or 14x is equal to 20, or x is equal to 20 over 14, or 10 over 7, which is a little bit like 1.4, approximately 1.4. When x is 1.4, that is where the graph will cross the horizontal asymptote y is equal to 2. What is the next thing? The point. Okay, now we actually start sketching the graph and starting sketch. And since we notice in our chart that the sign chart, it gave us that it's mostly positive, little bit we go to the negative. So drawing the axis. Yeah. So remember, we have zeros. We had the 0 at 0, 0, and then we had the axes at 2 and 5. Okay, so I have to go to 5 up to, so let's say this is 2, this is about, this much is 4, 6, and 8. -2, -4, -6, and then we can go. Okay, we can take the same scale here, or we can take a different scale. Let's see. Now I will start by drawing my asymptotes first. Always remember to draw the asymptotes with the dashed lines. Okay. And now the horizontal asymptote is pass at 2. Okay, so now if you recall, the sign chart told us that from -infinity to 0, the graph will be above the x-axis because we got the positive sign. So above the x-axis mean here in this region or in this region, or maybe it can cross. Well, remember, where does it cross? At about 1 point something, 1.4. So this is your 1.4 is over here. So graph will cross the horizontal asymptote here, not in this region. Okay. So cross somewhere here. That's what you need to remember. And now let's see. So the graph can it be here? That is the question. Now we don't have a vertical asymptote with the y-axis is not a vertical asymptote, and the x-axis is not a horizontal asymptote. This is where the graph should cross. Okay, let's say we have a little bit of confusion how the graph is going to be over here, so we just leave it here. Now we have that the graph is going to cross the horizontal asymptote over here. Also, we know that the function is positive between 0 and 2. It has to be above the x-axis. So what do you think if it's something like this? That makes sense? Something like that. Remember, it has to hug the asymptote and far away up there. So something like that. Okay, so now how should we go from here? So if I go do this, it means I'm going below the x-axis, but in this region the function is positive. So it means it cannot go below the x-axis. It must stay above the x-axis. Okay, so it stays above the x-axis, so how should it behave? So if it goes like this, then it is crossing the horizontal asymptote there, which is not possible. So, and then it is a horizontal asymptote. It has to be hugged by the graph, and it reaches in this region. So it can hug the asymptote from the top or from the bottom. So in this case, we'll do it from the bottom. So this is how it will look like. Okay. So now we are done with this portion. We come between 2 and 5. So between 2 and 5, we had that it's below the x-axis. Okay, does it come cross the x-axis? No, because then we should have gotten that as a 0. So it doesn't come close to the x-axis. It just stays down here like this. Okay, last region now, to the right of the vertical asymptote, x is equal to 5. So over here it is positive, so it means again either in this region or in that region. So we can take a test point and check where it is. So let's say this is our 6. So I'm going to plug the 6 in the function. So I get 2 into 36 divided by 6 minus 2 is 4. 4 into 6 minus 5, which is 1. So I'm getting, what do I get? This 4 goes into 36 9 times, 18. Where will 18 be? 18 will be up here in this region. So although it is too far away, but just to show that it will be in this region, we can just draw a piece like that. And that is our graph. This is what you should get as your graph. Label important points. Okay. And the asymptotes, equation of the asymptotes, and we are done. So that is how you graph the rational functions. One more question, the next video.